Hello, you amazing people. Welcome back to RX Memes. Today we are jumping into another r/ProRevenge. I also want to ask you, what is the best revenge you've ever gotten on someone in like a TLDR? Well, or you can give me like your full paragraph. And I've already received a few in my email, but not enough for like a full video. Eventually, I do want to do a revenge compilation from my viewers, so I'm working on that, but it might be like months away. So if you care to share it with me, I would love to hear it, and we will get into today's stories. A-hole tailgates me when I'm already speeding, so I set them up for a speed trap. I was driving home from a get-together and was going 65 to 67 km an hour, or 41 mph, in a 60 or 37 mph zone. Where I'm from, the police almost never pull you over if you're going 10 or less over, but will definitely pull you over for anything over that. All was well until I got closer to my area. It's less city-like and more rural, with the roads alternating between single and double lanes. I'm on a single lane, speeding 10 over, when a pickup truck in my rear view caught my attention. They were going a tad bit faster when they caught up to me and probably braked a meter behind me. I was like, okay, I'll speed up to 70, no big deal, but they continued to tailgate me. Upon closer inspection, I could see the mug of a very angry woman who had no understanding of personal space. What ensued was a full 5 minutes of them completely obscuring my rear view mirror with how close they were. I was tired and kind of hungover, so I really was not in the mood to be worrying about a potential car accident thanks to her driving. I was going to pull over to let her go around when Waze gave me a heads up that a police officer was reported up ahead. This was when I decided I'm going to dole out some karma. I slowly dropped my speed from 70 to 60, now at the speed limit. This woman was furious. Why she didn't just pass me, I'll never know. But she was literally going slightly over the midline, yelling to herself in my rear view, flashing her full brights in a weird show-off-ish way to get me to go faster. I did this for another minute before Waze showed the cops was less than a kilometer away. I put on my turn signal, very slowly pulled over, and watched this woman flip me the bird as she whipped past me, disappearing over the hill, now going way faster than 10 km over. I continued on my way, getting up to 70 kilometers an hour when I cleared the hill to see flashing lights ahead. Jackpot! I drove with anticipation until I got close enough to confirm it was my friend from earlier. Not wanting to miss out on hitting her with our new secret greeting, I dropped down to 60 kilometers an hour, peered over, and flashed the bird back at her. I hope you enjoyed the ticket, Karen. Isn't this what we hope is going to happen to everyone who just won't get off our asses on the highway or driving in general? I am living vicariously through this story right now. I'm really happy about it. My uncle took revenge on behalf of my parents. As the title gives away, this didn't happen to me, but is the story of how my uncle avenged my parents. My parents had me when they were plenty young. They were not teens anymore, but had barely left that age bracket. My mom and dad met in college. That was also when they had me. So while my parents were in their courses, I mostly stayed with my grandparents. The whole family lives in the same area, and the college was not that far away. My parents were still young and liked to go out with friends on occasion. When the following happened, I was a few years old. On occasion, they frequented a bar. A drunk guy there groped my mom and did not take no as a no. My dad intervened and stopped the guy, and half an hour later all seemed forgotten. The music was loud, the bar crowded, and then someone in the crowd hit my dad with an empty glass pitcher square in the face. He was bleeding profusely and collapsed, but in the press, semi-darkness, and over the music, no one knew who did it. My dad got taken to the hospital. He had a broken nose and a heavy concussion. He also couldn't see who had attacked him, and his memory between the alcohol and being hit in the head was also very fuzzy. Of course they had considered the guy who had harassed my mom, but they didn't know him, nor did they see him anywhere leading up to the moment, let alone have any evidence. So they pressed charges against unknown, but there was virtually nothing anyone could do. But then a few days later, the piece of crap that harassed my mom approached her on campus. Turns out he was in the same college as my parents. He made a few veiled comments and left little doubt that it had been him that hit my dad in the face, and the piece of garbage let my mom know that my dad next time should mind his manners, and that the little touching he had done didn't hurt anyone and wasn't that bad. And if he wanted to do it again, he would, and maybe more. And then the piece of crap went on his merry way. My mom was horrified, of course. She went home and told my grandparents, my dad, his parents, but no one could do anything. It was a he said, she said deal after all, and my mom hadn't even gotten the guy's name. My mom cried a lot at that time and didn't know what to do. She was also afraid of going into classes or out alone. I honestly only remember that time very scarcely. I was just a little kid, but I can remember my dad in the hospital and with his broken nose, and my mom crying a lot. My dad, of course, was just as angry and humiliated as my mom. No one knew what to do, and everyone was treading on eggshells around each other. But that is where my uncle enters the stage. My uncle, my mom's brother, lived on the other side of the country. He was a PI, and he was, of course, the last to hear the full story. But the moment he heard someone had threatened his little sister, he was on his way home. After hearing the full story, my uncle knew it would likely be hard to get the guy on the harassment, the assault, or the threats, having no evidence. My uncle had my mom point the guy out from afar on campus. It took a few days to find him, but then my uncle started to stalk that piece of human filth. My uncle took sick days, all his vacation, and invested every second possible to finding out everything about the harasser. My uncle even approached the pig in another bar and became drinking buddies with him. Over several weeks, my uncle had uncovered all manners of illicit behavior, possession, consumption, and distribution of drugs, theft, and a few other misdemeanors and small-time stuff. And my uncle could have put him away for that. But my uncle always said, when asked about, that if he had sent that asshole to prison, it would be for molesting my mom and hurting my dad. And that is what he did. One night, while out with his new buddy, drinking, my uncle made the idiot piss drunk, and they landed in my uncle's motel room. He got the harasser to incriminate himself on video, rattling off a list of illegal shit he was up to. My uncle had, of course, pretended to be a crook too. Among the stories asshole told was the story of how he groped some chick and brained her dude with a pitcher of beer. Now something needs to be said. In my country, of course, recording someone in secret is illegal. And under some conditions, like if the police does it, it is not permissible piece of evidence in court. But as a PI, my uncle knew that laws for that exactly. But paradoxically, if the situation is different, if it is not only audio but also video, and my uncle had that asshole on camera confessing. The next day, my uncle turned himself into the police with all his collected evidence, because secretly filming people was still a crime. Though the video could be used as evidence in court, as my uncle was not affiliated with the police or any other governmental agency. When the criminal trial and the civil trial were over, the asshole got 6 years in prison and had to pay damages to my mom and dad. And my uncle got slapped with the equivalent of a $2,000 fine for secretly filming the asshole. Money well spent, he always said. Brother goals 100%. Tutor maliciously targeted students, so I collected an army and took him down. I'm not one for revenge personally, but this is something that happened to me in college. UK college, which I'm pretty sure is high school, but correct me if I'm wrong. And it's something me and my friends love to reminisce over from time to time. I originally went to college intending doing maths and physics, but due to multiple factors didn't get the grades, so I jumped into IT instead, as the course didn't need grades as high, and there was a need for IT techs in the market. The class I ended up in had about 5 of us that honestly didn't need to be there. We were your ultra-comp nerds and pretty much could answer every question from day one. Some tutors saw this and used us to help the other students who came to the class not knowing jack about computers. Then there was malicious tutor. Our class was rather rowdy, lot of male teens, and most of them were there 'cause, well, they didn't know what exactly they wanted to do in life, and this gave them some grades for university or something. Most of them continued on to other college courses, then went to uni after, so on to the actual story. Me and my small group of friends often sat at the front of the class, often chatted while we worked, and generally liked to have a joke or two. But we did our work. Things started out with malicious tutor telling us in the middle of class that we needed to stop talking and get on with our work. Okay, we were mostly joking then, so sure. Maybe we were distracting him, but as time went on, he would start to snap at us for talking about the work, moving to help each other with stuff we had already done or just knew more about, etc. The time that took the biscuit was about halfway through the first year, when on a day we were doing our assignments, which were due the next day, something most of our tutors let us do in class, if we had all other works done, and the 2 of the group that knew the least needed some help finishing off their stuff. Most of us were there working on other classes' work. The main lecture had been done, and the people in the class were passing that assignment the first time, as none of them were working on it, even though the tutor had said, "Use this time to get it in, I don't want late assignments." They were instead laughing, joking, generally fucking around, and playing games at the other side of the room where he couldn't see their computer screens. Malicious tutor turns to us and rather angrily, and only to our small group, demands that we shut up, sit at our own desks, and stop distracting him. We had been distracting him every lesson and were problem students. He wouldn't listen to any of us about us helping each other or anything else, wouldn't give the 2 that needed the help, and being nerdy, anxious teens, none of us wanted to risk a fail or anything for all the work if we had just walked out. So we complied. After the class, we got to talking. One of the people in our group, who we referred to as Griff in college, had done another course before this one, and had many more tales of malicious tutor, from losing assignments to straight up refusing to help students with one occasion, breaking some code in a software assignment, and then just shrugging and saying, "Dunno, sorry," and leaving the student to fix it. It was here I decided to hatch a plan that snowballed far quicker than I expected. That night I jumped on Skype, the VoIP of the time, and hit up Griff and started writing down everything that had been happening. The seemingly innocuous harassment, the lack of assistance, the losing of assignments over the years, the specific targeting and ignorance of other people doing exactly what he was complaining about. Everything we could get our hands on. I then spent the next few days going around with a handcrafted letter to everyone that I knew had been affected, which, although everyone thought it might get him spoken to, but nothing more, still signed it to say they agree with what was written, and that they can corroborate it. I then sent the letter straight up the ladder, not to his supervisor or manager or boss, but his boss's boss. This bit wasn't intentional, but it made it snowball, and although I had planned out a whole bunch of stuff to give evidence of his actions, I didn't need any of it. Within a few hours of depositing the letter, I was pulled from my class by the head of the department, who was assuring me that I wasn't in trouble and all that usual stuff. I was taken straight to her boss's boss, who said something along the lines of, "OP, because of how you've approached this complaint, we've got to take it very seriously. Did all the people who signed this read it?" Yes, they did, and I believe other people made complaints in the past too. "Okay, OP, if you want we can omit any names and this can be dealt with as an anonymous complaint, but that is up to you. I am fine with my name being used, but I can't say for anyone else who signed the letter. Thank you, OP. If we need anything else from you, I'll be in touch." I can't say for certain, but I'm sure he then called in every other person on the letter, and all of them asked to stay anonymous. By the next week, the tutor had disappeared and no one knew why or where he'd gone. Even his colleagues didn't know exactly what had happened, only that he'd left. We didn't see him again that year. The head of the department was also changed. I'm assuming because she hadn't dealt with the complaints properly, but she just got a demotion. She was a good tutor. The next year, I was stood near the room my next lecture was, and malicious tutor walks down the corridor, making a point to stop in front of me, shake my hand, ask me how my studies are going, and tell me if I ever need anything, I can come straight to him. Kinda creepy, and he never did it to any other students. I was never put in any of his classes again, even though he did lectures on my subjects. I found out before I finished my last year that he'd been put on leave, then made to attend a training program, and hit with the good old last chances warning. Probably with attend this program or you're fired. Moral of the story, the pen is mightier than the MT's Bork. Okay, I'm not sure what a Bork is. Have you guys ever dealt with malicious tutors or like TAs? Alright everybody, that's it for today's video. I hope that you liked it. If you did, don't forget to hit the thumbs up and subscribe if you're not already to hear new content every single day. I'm really making videos my priority again, and I'm really happy to be back. I love interacting with you guys, and I really missed you guys over the course of the past couple of months. So thank you for hanging in there with me, and I will see you in my next video. Bye!